My name is Vidyarth Kisoon, and this is a presentation on free and open source software, which was made at a meeting at the Guyana Technology User Group on 9th of February 2013. In this presentation, what we'll talk about is what is FOSS or FLOSS, what are the types of FOSS, why we should bother with it in Guyana, how we can make money with it, and talk a little bit more about Linux. So the first question about understanding FOSS is, when last have you stolen something or acquired stolen property? And I think most persons who are looking at this would think about intellectual property and the fact that many of us in Guyana are using software which was not obtained through proper legal means. So what is free and open source software? There are two components to this label which represent two different kinds of views, two different movements. First of all, there is a free software movement which defines free software as having the following four freedoms. It's the freedom to run a program for any purpose. It's the freedom to study how the program works and adapt it to your needs. And it would be necessary to have the access to the source code for this. The freedom to redistribute copies so that you can help your neighbor, and the freedom to improve a program and release your improvements to the public so that the whole community benefits. It's important to understand that this freedom does not necessarily mean free as in price. It's the difference between, for those who know French, libre and gratuit. Richard Stallman is the founder of the free software movement. The open source software has other characteristics, and the licenses covers other items such as the free redistribution. It speaks to the fact that the source code must be available. It speaks to how derived works must be licensed. It says that the author's code must be visible. There should be no discrimination against users or against fields of endeavor. So regardless of how your users want to do it, whether they want to hack or to spy or to steal money or whatever, you cannot say how your software can be used. The license must be distributed. The license must be technology neutral. The license must not be specific to a product. The license must not restrict other software. And generally this license is more managed by the open source initiative. So what are some of the types of FOSS that are available? We have operating systems, Linux and FreeBSD. FreeBSD is used at the University of Guyana to manage the top level GUI domain. We have databases, MySQL and PostgreSQL. We have web servers like Apache, which runs a significant proportion of the web servers around the world. We have content management systems, Drupal, WordPress, and Joomla, and many of the web designers in Guyana are using either WordPress or Joomla. I personally use Drupal for many of mine. There's e-learning using Moodle, and Brain Street Technologies is one of the companies in Guyana that uses Moodle for its platform. We have the internet applications, we have multimedia, we have graphics, we have productivity software, and we have GIS. So there are many others depending on what you want to do. So why should we bother with free and open source software? Depending on the software, the security is usually good, because once source code is available, any glitches can be quickly corrected by a community of developers. And this also is linked to the reliability and stability issues. FOSS frequently follows open standards, and therefore there is independence from vendors, and open standards allows you to think forward so that upgrades and so on should be easy. There would be a reduced reliance on imports into Guyana, and when we start paying our license fees, we realize that we're paying our licenses for software that with functions which we can probably get alternatively. We also have the opportunity to develop local software capacity. We have the issues of managing piracy and our intellectual property requirements under the WTO agreements in Guyana is very slow at adapting to these. And then of course there are the opportunities for localization. So why bother with FOSS? Well, some of the challenges are that there are lack of business applications, so some financials and human resources management systems might not be available. Proprietary software and hardware, the owners of those sometimes do not release their designs, so there's often interoperability. There's limited documentation and polish. There's limited marketing. The marketing is often relies on users who might be evangelists and on demonstration, and there's no sales team coming with any gimmicks to help to sell FOSS. And there could be any other reasons depending on who is using it. Very often it just depends on a perceived demand and supply issue. So how do we make money with FOSS? We can think about developing solutions, whether we customize or we write our own applications or we customize existing applications. We should learn to develop a service, so technical support, demand for Linux system administration is high. And what we do is we're spending money on services and not on licenses. In a discussion about GIS a couple of years ago, one of the professionals noted that the ArcGIS licensing that he was working on was something like 20,000 US. And then, on top of that, a consultancy service of 10,000 US or maybe 5,000 US. Now, if you had to implement a FOSS solution, basically you would be paying only for the consultancy services. You might have to pay a bit more because the consultant might have to do training and development of materials, and that might just be something like 15,000 US. And people in Guyana can start thinking about creating their own solutions which are local and using what is available and marketing those. A little bit about what is Linux, and many persons have an idea. Linux is the kernel, which was originally created by Linus Torvalds, or we frequently refer to the distributions, which is the kernel plus the libraries, the graphical user interface, databases, web servers, etc. And many of the popular distributions are Debian, Mint, Mandriva, Ubuntu, CentOS, Red Hat, SUSE. And sometimes not all of these have FOSS license, and not all of the applications which are involved in some of them have FOSS licenses. So how is Linux used? In this Compute in India, one of the small computers which was being designed for use in India, and in the computer being used in the One Laptop Per Child initiative. Linux is also used in some of the world's supercomputers and on many mobile devices. It's the base of the Android system. Linux is used by the US Navy, by the Chinese government, and by many other institutions which are paranoid about security. Linux is also used by schools in Kerala, India, where Kerala is a state with a very high literacy rate, and where the IT community said that they didn't want the students being tied to any particular product or business, so they wanted to encourage the use of free and open source software and Linux. How then should you use to learn Linux? You're busy, you're studying for your certification exams. Try an installation. You can go online and download one. Try to learn the command line. The command line offers great flexibility, and the commands are very various. There are hundreds of commands which could do many different things very quickly. Create a project and do something with that project. In my own experience, I started by having to manage a web server which was running Red Hat 5 way back in the day, and then I migrated to managing my own desktop, and then we did a Linux terminal server project pilot at the Cummings Lodge Mandir a few years ago. So there's all different implementations of Linux. On the decision about certification, there is certification available. However, many of the certification institutions usually remark, perhaps in a tongue-in-cheek, to say that they tell employees that certification only means that people can pass exams, but it might not mean that people will have hands-on experience in crisis situations. So really and truly, the best way to learn to use Linux is to expose yourself to it, to try a project, and to implement it. Thanks for listening. This is my email address. Please contact me if you have any comments on this presentation.